Pause.
Nice to meet you. Raise your hand to speak, go record back and forth. Right, the figuring we're gonna have to leave. And we're gonna stick to the things we have tonight on the agenda. Now, other than that. A motion for the minute.
Speaker, you can use.
You in favor?
Hear you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, hello, no, it doesn't work.
It's on.
Oh, speaker.
It's working.
It's working. All right, so let's, we're gonna start with Vinnie on Article 6 and 7. You had a comment.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Article 6 and 7 was, the Maine Municipal Association, wrote a letter or made notification to the town that it wasn't valid, it was voted on at the, well, their opinion at the town meeting. So my feeling is, last week, the selectmen said they were gonna present it again, either on a referendum or a special town meeting if one comes up, in between, that it should be presented as it was written originally at the town meeting in the annual report. Very good. Also, the warrant articles on the property of the select, but they determine what goes on there, how it goes on there. Unless citizens, either an individual or a group of individuals come with a petition with enough signatures, then it has to be presented as they want it. My feeling is that if indeed there's going to be another meeting on referendum on the same votes, it should be published in local papers what happened and why it happened and why the town's votes were invalid. And it also should be put in the Brownfield town newsletter that it was made invalid and also responsibility of it. So that's basically my feeling on the Article 6 and 7, that it should be presented again as it was written originally. And the selectmen, it's their property unless the citizens come up with a petition, enough signatures, and it should be put in the paper what happened and why it happened, so everybody knows.
I think it has to come up for more discussion. It's not invalid, it's problematic.
Right.
So we need more discussion on it to.
When it's finalized, what the status is.
Right.
Eric?
I'm glad John used the word problematic, because if we're on the subject of problematic articles, we may want to run Article 8 and Article 15 also by MMA and legal, because those are problematic, where Article 15 was short on payroll for the animal control officer, and Article 8 had 2 raises for 1 employee and no explanation for some of the improper math that was done in the warrant. So if we're going to do 6 and 7, we might also want to look at 8 and 15 for possible litigation.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Terry?
If the articles are rewritten, wouldn't it make sense to rewrite them with the amendment included in proper legal language?
Yeah.
Because the townspeople voted for including that amendment, so I'm sure we don't request this for it.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. All right. Let's go to the big thing. I can't see it.
Yeah.
Bruce, I just wanted to say, if you go to a federal town meeting, you stand can't be amended again. You go to referendum, it cannot be amended. And that's why I got in trouble, because it was amended. So I strongly urge you to go to referendum.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay. Now we're going to go to the discussion of ATVs on Dudley. Let's start with Kristen.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kristen Tremblay. I live in Brownfield on Dudley Road. And I can see we're all here tonight to talk about ATVs on Dudley and in Brownfield. I think that there's a lot of concern, there's a lot of fear, I think people are worried about that it's.
Sorry. My silence.
I think that everyone's worried about access. This is a discussion in safety. What I'm here to talk about is safety. I'm not trying to take away what you love, like, we're not trying to say that people don't have access to Dugway. We're trying to ask, if you can help us find a way, like, to not lose people we love. We don't want to have an accident. It's very dangerous right now. There's a dangerous situation. You have to face it. Let's face it together. Let's find answers. You guys are the riders. You know maybe what would make sense for other riders to hear that would keep them safe. People in this community, I don't know who is the fast riders, who is doing it. I don't know. I doubt it's anyone here because we're all here because we care, right? Who is it and how can we get through to them to create a culture of safety and respect? Like, I've seen children riding on the road. I don't want to get in an accident with a child. Like, that's crucial to me. I'm very, very nervous. Please don't ignore this. Like, we can't. It's our responsibility to keep our kids safe, not my own child. That is my job as a parent, is to keep my own child safe. Yes, but not only him. Everyone in Brownfield, everybody driving on the road, and keep them safe. This is our community. Let's do it. Let's think of some ideas together.
The key to the whole thing is enforcement and education. And that's really what we need to have taken care of. Whether hopefully Willie this next season can do an ATV class here to teach the younger kids. We can ask the game what he has to think.
As far as ATV access on roadways,
We have what we can do to help. It's just a few speeders compared to the amount of regular riders.
here's your primary problem with any speed with ATV on the road. Okay, ATVs don't fall under the definition of motor vehicle, so they do not fall under the same speed limits as a regular car. Okay, the speed limit signs that are on the road are non-enforceable for ATVs. There's no law that covers speed limits on public ways. If you don't like that, you need to go to your local legislator or state representative and you get a bill in motion. So we have something in place to enforce that. If the law that we have, it covers egregious operation, reckless operation of an ATV or operating an ATV to a game. And I will tell you that that's usually the result of a crash. The only time you typically charge somebody or prosecute for that. So there's a speed limit sign. You look, handwritten signs 15 miles an hour for ATVs on the side of the road. Some designs decide to go 30. I can't run radar. I can't enforce it. Sheriff's office can't enforce that. There is no law to enforce speed limits on a public way for ATVs. So that is the battle that we face when it comes to speeding. Right.
Is it like a snowmobile safe improvement?
Safe improvement, right? So that's under the judgment and discretion of the law enforcement officer that observes the activity. Okay, that's all based on reasonableness, totality of the circumstances of everything that's going on. Okay, so my perception or understanding, Sergeant Baker's understanding of that probably different. It may be yours or even yours. So that falls under the discretion of the officer that we deal with stuff. So that's where a lot of the miscommunication or misunderstanding of what safety including happens. You know, as far as and probably one of the most confusing and conflicting parts of ATV laws and enforcement go, especially on roadways. The ATV laws are obviously Fish and Wildlife, Title 12, they're regulated by Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Okay, they are in our statute book, but when they're on a public way, they fall under the jurisdiction of whatever law enforcement agency covers roadway and municipality law enforcement. Okay, so if there's a crash on a public way, covered by the sheriff's office, if it was in Brownfield, If there's a crash on public way on 25 Parsons Field, the state police that cover that crash. If there's a speeding complaint or any other ATV complaint, on a roadway, the primary agency that covers issues on the roadway is responsible for this. We as game wardens can enforce it, we do, we see it, but that complaint is gonna go to the sheriff's office and state police. Jurisdictionally, we handle everything off-road, sheriff's office and the state police handle everything off-road. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. So the crossover from fish and wildlife laws to motor vehicle laws, with two different books, and typically two different agencies that look at those things. We all can enforce them, but they're obviously big books and there's a lot to all that stuff. Okay, so traditionally, game wardens are the experts of recreational vehicle and ATV laws. Just like, you know, if I stop a motor vehicle right now, I wouldn't be as adherent to the 29A laws like so and vice versa. So that is kind of the, I guess, the rundown of how ATVs are regulated here in the state. When ATV access routes are granted, that is up to the municipality to govern them and dictate what they can and cannot, open. Okay. So as far as the town of Brownfield, you're going to open access routes. That falls on the town of Brownfield, however you vote, petition for the town of Selectmen. Want to open or close, or it's up to you folks what you want to do. Okay, that is not an IFW or sheriff's office issue. Okay, that's the town itself for it. Has to manage it. Okay. And with that, you know, the opening and closures, you know, up to what you folks want. Okay, so if there are specific issues in certain areas, you need to go to your town and reference those issues and talk to the ones guys right here today.
Lori?
The road, Christina brought up these illegal signs. They're not even illegal signs. We've got documentation saying we put that in since 2018. We've gotten, I go ahead to use that road till the state comes down and puts the signs. Bob Spears, Bob.
Well, let me, so I'm the Bob Spear, I'm the Denmark Club, for those who don't know. Let me suggest that I think what we have here is more than one topic to talk about, all related to ATVs, from my point of view. I've read everything, sorry, I was out of town for the last meeting. Seems to me the first issue and the main issue for the board to make a decision on is Dugway as a public road. Is that road safe for ATV travel in general? Is that road going to be, you know, maintained available for ATV travel? That's a decision that has to be made. That was one that was made before, and maybe revisit that decision. If that's your prerogative anytime you want. The issue of, to me, it's a totally separate issue if there are people breaking the law, whether they be an ATV, in a car, or a truck, or anything on that road. And that's a law enforcement issue. We as a club, we do everything we can to work with you folks, work with the residents, work with the ATV riders, and I believe we go above and beyond in terms of trying to regulate the ATV traffic, manage the ATV traffic. We do everything we can to keep them on the specific routes so that they're not just traveling on any road through the town. We do everything we can to post suggested ATV speeds on all the roads. And not every club does that. I ride in Jackman, Maine, and when I ride on the roads, there's never a speed limit sign for ATVs on those roads. If you drive around here, you'll see speed limit signs for ATVs everywhere. So we listen to the local residents, we listen to the town, the law enforcement, and we try to bring the speed down in areas where we know there's particular people on the road, or there's business there that has people walking across the road from parking or whatever it may be. As you just heard, if I take a sign and handwrite 15 miles an hour and put it out there for ATVs, That's not something necessarily that can be enforced by law. It's my suggested speed limit, not something that can be, necessarily enforced and ticketed if they're not following that speed. We also publish everything, that we do to all the ATV club members. Anytime there's issues or questions of issues, I'll send notices out about being careful on certain sections of road, slowing down in certain areas. We do everything we can to manage ATV traffic. And I believe that the vast majority of ATV riders follow the signs, they follow the rules, and they do everything they can to maintain, a happy relationship with everybody where we're traveling. I can tell you that everything that our club does, we share with local law enforcement. These guys are on copy for every email I send to every time I send out my meeting minutes, every time I send out a notice of there was a reported issue, slow down in a certain area, they're on copy for it, just like everybody in the club. So we're transparent with everything that we do. We're not hiding anything. We're not playing games. We're trying to keep everything above board on the table for everybody to see it and work together with everybody, with law enforcement. They can email me or call me anytime they want if there's an issue that comes up. And they see how I present that to the ATV club and my message that goes out to them. And if they disagree with that, they can comment or have me add or change anything to it. So I think that the primary issue to decide on is Dugway a safe road? And I can tell you from riding that I believe Dugway is one of the safer roads that we have because it's a very low traffic road in terms of motor vehicle traffic. It's plenty wide enough for traffic to pass ATVs. I've been on the road many times and I've never had a problem with a truck or anything getting by me on that road. It's a dirt road most of the way, which again is probably a safer environment for an ATV to be on a paved road. So in my opinion, and in opinion of people that ride ATVs, Dugway is a very safe road to be on for ATV traffic. Again, a separate issue, if there's people breaking the law, whether it's children riding without helmets, and I say children because there's no helmet law in Maine for adults. Any adult can ride an ATV without a helmet. They can ride a motorcycle. I choose to ride without a helmet. That doesn't mean I'm unsafe or I'm gonna be unsafe to anybody else on the road. It's when there's two people riding on ATVs. It's nothing that says two people can't ride on a four-wheeler. You can't. A lot of them are designed for two-up seating. They have a backrest on the back or something. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing dangerous about that. Families riding, children riding. We've done a training class for youth here before, where we train. They have to pass the safety test when the course is done. If they pass that class, they get a certification letter, and 10 years and older, they're able to ride with adult supervision. You have to have a helmet on to a certain age. Once they get a driver's license, they don't need that. They have that, as far as I understand. We're planning to do another safety course next year. We had a charity event that we did this year that took us most of our time and effort. So that's my only comment that I would suggest you look at first is Dugway a safe road for ATV travel in general? And I believe it is, and I don't see any reason to believe it isn't. If there's anything that comes up in this meeting or at any time that you think the club can assist with in helping to control traffic, slow traffic down in certain areas or whatever it may be, we're happy to do it. I do a lot of the signs myself, so I know where most of them are and what they are. We can always improve on signage out there. Doing this for quite a while. And every time someone else rides the trail after I've put signs up, they make a comment and I realize that maybe we could add more signage or clearer signs or whatever. But from my experience, we don't have ATVs that don't know where they're going through Brownfield. The ATV signs and the people that ride ATVs are looking for the signs. Even though they're only this big, that's what ATV is looking for, that green sign. And I don't see a lot of people getting lost coming through Brownfield because they didn't know which way to turn, or they didn't know where to go. Which tells me we're keeping them on the road that we agreed to put them on. And they're not wandering around lost because they missed the sign and didn't know where they were going. But like I said, if there's anything we can do to improve it, any suggestions to do it, we're happy to do it. As far as the state road, 160 is concerned, we submitted everything to the state after we had approval from the town of Brownfield. I got the letter approving our access to that road. We submit everything to the state. We got an approval from the state. They said, everything looks good, you're good to go. They passed it to Maine DOT to put signs out. Apparently, I found out, and I checked back 6 months later, hadn't seen signs. They said, well, Maine DOT is Maine DOT. It's you know, they got a lot of things to do. We'll see when they get to your sign. It came up again this year. I contacted the head of the ATV commission in Augusta. We resubmitted all the paperwork again because it turns out that Maine DOT lost the paperwork. So everything's been resubmitted. It's in process. I'm on the email chain with them. You know, there's no way for me or anyone, even the head of the ATV commission, to suggest when the signs will go up, because Maine DOT doesn't necessarily answer to them with the schedule or anything. So, but it's all in process, and we are tracking it. They know we need to get them up, and as soon as I know something happened, maybe when I see a sign, because they don't necessarily update me as to what they're doing and stuff. But that's in process. So that's my view. As far as ATVs in general, you know, comments that were made about ATVs and taxpayers for the road. And you can see you have a lot of residents here that own ATVs. You'll probably look at your own books and see how many registered machines you have in the town of Brownfield. Probably have quite a few. I pulled some information on ATVs in the state of Maine. State of Maine has about 6,000 miles of ATV trails. The estimate, and this was from a couple of years ago, is the state of Maine believes that they get about $200 million every year added to the economy from ATVs. Much like boating and hunting and fishing in the state, it's a good business for Maine, and it's a growing business in Maine. Probably one of the fastest growing businesses, because we all know the winters aren't that reliable for snowmobiles anymore, and a lot of people are moving to ATVs. So I think they're here to stay. The club is here to help. We don't necessarily, I mean, without the club, ATVs don't go away, people just ride.
Right.
Our role is to try to make it work with everybody, try to keep it safe for everybody, try to keep people on the roads that you want us to be on, and the roads that are safest to be on. And we go out, pick up trash, we clean up behind people, we come out for the cleanup days in the town. We do everything we can, because it's a pretty good club and a growing club right now. So I think, you know, just consider those things when you make your decisions.
Thank you. Joe.
Hi, Joe Egan, Brownfield. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, officer, for being here tonight. And I don't have an ATV. I don't own an ATV. Maybe someday I will. And it's like a lot of fun. But a lot of my neighbors do. And I'm not opposed to ATVs or ATV drivers. And what Bob said was all interesting information. The same thing with the officers over here. We'll be going back to the city problem. What do we do with people who are speeding recklessly on Dugway Road? And I just want to add this, that I've been up on the road. I've seen your ATVs riding. Now, I think most of the people here in this audience tonight, if you saw someone walking along the road, especially if they were with, especially if you're elderly, or they have a dog or they have a kid with them, you would automatically slow down. But there's a number, and I can tell you the percentage, who don't slow down. Even if you stand there and you go like this, asking them to slow down. And I can also say, even though I know we're talking ATVs, but probably one of the bigger problems, and this is just to bring it to life, probably one of the bigger problems is, there's a couple of operators who look like they're underage, who operate motocross bikes, or scramblers, or whatever you want to call them, not their bikes, the motorcycles. And I know two people, older people, who have stopped them, asked them to slow down, and these two kids have turned around and hurt them. That's the type of thing Paul Gale was talking about last week. He said, hey, I'm 61 years old. You're telling me I have to confront these people, and then what happens if they turn against me? So we're back to the same question, and we're really looking for help. We're looking for advice on this. How do we deal with people who speak?
I've been memorable, this drill master here in Brownfield. Anytime there's been an issue with the dog, they've always spirits follow me, and I've gone up there immediately and posted. When the theater asked us to drop the speed limit down to 10 miles an hour, I went up there the same day and put the mileage up there. We have no control of the people that may be coming up here for the weekend from away, or if they're coming from somewhere else and speeding. The club itself cannot be blamed or held accountable for other people's actions. We, as a club, we've been over backwards, we've done everything we can. I could post speed limits. If you go up to the Dugway, look how many signs are on up there, the speed limit signs. I go up there in the spring, I turn back in the local road so they can be there, on the telephone poles. There's plenty of signage here. It's not the club's fault. There's nothing that we can do to control what other people do. It's not up to the club. We do our very best to keep, if we don't have the signage here, then everybody's going to speed. We put the signage up. We try to keep people at a reasonable speed limit. We can't control what other people do. The club is doing its very best to be helpful. As far as the safety issue is, you know what, if you can't stop people from speeding, there's no fixing stupid.
Bruce?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel a little disparity about some of this stuff because if you drive a truck, a car, or anything else, required by law to have insurance. These ATV people have no insurance and get to use the highway. To me, that's not right.
Mine does.
I have insurance. It doesn't get insurance. Look. The cars are ATV which I've come up with now the last 2 months, working on the own. There's more cars and trucks and jeeps and whatever, speed mod, excavator, or trucks than they are ATVs. We have signs out. One gentleman stopped and told me that he did not need to slow down, he can do this, which is fine. And I explained to him, I think, just there, more vehicles speed on that road than ATVs. I just wanted to tell everybody that. I've been there, done it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, if this is an issue of safety, if there's been any data or statistics or numbers compiled by anybody to back up a claim of lack of safety. Are there accidents? Are there no accidents? You know, it's written. Just curious if there's any compiled.
Yeah, but not on great.
Sorry.
So with accidents, if you look at, if you do some research like the Jericho Road up in Berlin, this is between 600 and 800 accidents a year up there. The speeds are a little bit faster. Bob, I understand what you were saying with trying to police what's going on here with ATVs. I have a climbing background. I was a professional climbing guide for 30 years. So if we had access going over there, someone ruined it. These cliffs were shut down. Good. So this is nationwide, worldwide. So if someone goes into a cliff and they face a rock face or an ice climb or something like that, the system is stopped. The same with ATVs, side by sides. 90% of you guys probably numbers are probably higher than that. You guys have paid the law, but how do we stop people that with the KTMs that shoot through Aaron Blake's fields? You know, you ask them not to do it, and they give you the finger and off they ride through the fields on the snowmobile trails. What I'd like to see is, with the club, is maybe have some self-policing. Have some of you guys show up and be the police force that we need, you know, so I'm saying, what's that?
Illegally cast. Stop.
Well, that
Slide down.
improves, and you not like stop people, like, I was like, there's probably 5% of the people that are the ones that are breaking the law here. It's really too bad, because I think there's awesome piece of equipment to operate on it. It's really neat, like, if we're gonna try to have one, but, you know, to see people go past us at, you know, unbelievable speeds, and just see the ATV mom with a little kid straddling the gas tank without a helmet on, it's just like, oh my God, you know, what is this all about? I've seen that frequently, and you know, it's tiresome as a person to go out and do this, and try to slow people down. I'm like, yeah.
What do you do about the dump trucks in the Corvette?
Mhm.
And all of the other.
I hear you. It's the same thing, you know, I work as a high school teacher, and I got one of my students who rides KTM, and he's like, you're not one of those guys. It's not, I didn't one of those guys. So KTM's going past my house, and Joe Wheelies as they're coming around the corners. It's not side by sides or ATVs, it's sometimes KTMs. So I think as a club, to have you guys down there more, maybe stop this from happening.
The problem is we can't do it.
Right.
But we're not, right?
Right.
I'm Mrs. Saber. Right before it turns into what is functionally now a trail. So when the ATVs are going on Ledward, they are from us, and the summers are pretty unbearable, so in 500 up there. However, I can see why, because you go on that way, it's created something. And all you see to me is the dirt, and it's in houses. That anyone lives in, and it's a little bit trail sign. And so they took the gun, this dirt, and they did this in trail. The signage is huge. I think it could really do a lot of good. I also wonder if the speed limit is not as much an issue as maybe a sign, for instance, I thought about putting one myself with my neighbor's permissions. Basically saying, please go slow, people and animals pets. I mean, basically, I think we have to say, we live here. I don't want anyone to close the road. I think, you know, I don't ATV myself, but I understand that it's a sport and that it's enjoyable, and that's great. But it's my summers are really exhausting and unbearable. It's there. So I think signs would do a lot of good, and maybe one of the things that ATV, the club is do a kind of survey of those. Think about, yeah. And what it looks like, there's something like helpful, yeah, and then there's maybe. Okay, I mean, it's always gonna be bad, and I'm pretty but I think a lot of people just. We have lots of roads, we have a really rural area, and especially people from out of town, they just don't know. They need some help saying, we live here and all that.
Well, one thing I will say, with the snowmobiles, is I put snowmobile signs out all the time, okay? And somebody will come along and say, well, I don't know where I'm going. And half of the trouble with me putting the signs out is I know where I'm going. And I'm putting the sign up, but I know where I'm going. So what I try to do is find somebody who doesn't know, and then you come with me, and you lead and tell me where we're going. And then they'll say, oh, well, I'm here, I don't know where I'm going. Okay, so now you need a sign there. And that may be a little key to help with you guys too, that just to find out somebody doesn't know. And that would get a little more signage out there that would help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done that on the off-road trails, because it's a lot easier to get lost with different dirt roads crossing off-road trails. I've had a lot of people come from other clubs through Brownfield. Anytime someone posts on Facebook that they had a problem, we'll go out and add signage to it. There's no argument on my part that, more signs is always better. The more we put up, more we recommend slow down. There's paved road coming up, or the dirt road is still a public road. I have no problem with that. I mean, all good suggestions will add signs to it. And try to do a better job with it. I don't think people are getting lost coming through Brownfield. I don't think when they're on Dugway, you're on Dugway. If anybody's off riding through somebody's field, it's not because they don't know where they're going. It's because they're local, they know exactly where they're going. And they're kids on a dirt bike and they want to cut through that field to go to some other place where they know where they can ride. This isn't an issue of people getting lost, it's an issue of
Do what they want to
kids
do.
doing what they want to do. And, but that said, if, I've said to anyone that contacts the club, if there's a place where it looks like people are turning off the road and going into somebody's field, I have a big pile of no ATV signs, we'll go post it. Post on both sides of a small turn off or something, and make sure that way if they're up there, they're not lost. They went past 2 signs, they know where they're going, and this isn't an issue of somebody, using the argument that I didn't know where it was. It's an issue of somebody who knows what they're doing and they don't care,
That's right.
Terry?
So I did some reading of the laws that were passed at the last meeting, and I was surprised to see that kids under 10 cannot operate an ATV in the state of Maine. And between 10 and 16, they have to have a training course and provide papers if they're signed. And anybody under 18 have to wear something. We see a lot of that not happen. Be nice. I don't know how you enforce that, of course, it's a problem. But I think one of the issues, and I think Lisa brought it up about the signage. So right now the signage on Dugway has listed as an ATV trail. And it's not, it's a public way, and sign should be, that's an ATV access route, which means the town then has to decide if it's safe enough for people to travel on that while they motor vehicles. So I think it's a big liability for the town to agree to put that signage up. And, once again, it's not our friends, it's not our neighbors, it's probably not even the ATV club members. It's people who come and don't care about what's going on in their town that causes those problems.
Lawbreakers and unreasonable people are not gonna follow city limit signs. We know. An ATV, a vehicle, no matter what it is, there's always gonna be people breaking the rules. So my question is, what might be smarter is to put something up near where you folks are coming out of your driveways. I don't know, I thought you said something about last week or the week before about, I'm talking to you, the lady that, yeah. You said something about there's like a blind spot or something coming down, so when you pull out, I understood, but how about turning traffic, this is not a trail, this is a public access, something like that, instead of trying to restrict people, because they're gonna break the rules. It doesn't matter where you go. I didn't make it to work without having to play chicken with 15 cars on my way to work because nobody's paying attention. So you're gonna have that no matter what. And sometimes you have to leave the risk with the driver of the ATV.
Right.
ATV, the parents, the kid is driving crazy. You know what? Kid's driving crazy. If somebody's gonna get hurt, you're right. Somebody's gonna get hurt, but there's only so much we can control.
John?
We want to be proactive, safety wise. How many ATV accidents in the last year have been reported?
All right, I have that stat from you.
That-
2018, when it started, there was 1. In 19, there was 0.
Those are complaints.
So these are complaints. 20 was 1. 21 was 6. 22 was 7. There were no accidents.
No accident.
No action.
There's no accidents reported on the ATV ground.
No. Kristen?
it's a great thing.
just because there isn't an accident, doesn't mean that it wouldn't be a good idea to think about keeping our residents safe. I feel in the room here, I.
Well, sure, I know that it's pretty hot.
There was no.
Yeah,
Wait,
address us.
so my question is,
That,
That,
let her finish.
my question is that let's not get into it trying to prove that this is safe or this isn't safe. Let's just, I have, for example, on Sunday, I took an audit. I actually took an audit of the ATVs going down, starting at 9:30 in the morning. And I kind of stopped at 3:30 just randomly, because I just like, this is enough information. Of the 29 vehicles, and this was a light flow, this was very light that day, it was not many. There were 29 ATVs and side by sides, and something other, but I don't know what it was. It looked like a Mad Max vehicle. What is that? Is that?
Good. Next, please.
Anyway, the point being that 5 were going to speed limit. The rest were over the top, and there were 2 convoys, like intense. I mean, it's pretty intense when you have a convoy of 7 or 6 or 8 or 5 raging down the road and speeding. It's a very fast, it's very intense, and I want to respectfully disagree. I don't think that the way is wide enough. To
wide enough.
Sorry,
You know,
Pat.
No. There are areas that are narrow. When I look at the state laws, it says that vehicles have to be able to go like this, pass each other, and ATVs or side by sides of whoever needs to be able to be on the extreme right at the same time. That width, I'm not sure Dugway has that, and I'm not saying that that doesn't mean that we all shouldn't be on the road together. I'm just saying that recognizing that would be valuable in facing the reality that, okay, it's narrow and these people are speeding. It's real. Like, there are so many people on our road that have seen a lot of speeding. I don't think that that's the question here. It's how do we slow the speeding down? How can we get people to respect speed limit that's posted on the road? Should ATVs, if they want to be on our road, and we know that it's kind of narrow, and we know there are kids riding on the road that we're not dealing with that issue either, how do we address this? How do we face this? How do we make people safe? And my second question is the town liable? What is the liability if there was an accident? Am I liable if I hit an ATV or speeding and not brake, or is the town liable because they knew that safety? There wasn't, it's a twisty, turning road, it's not safe. Again, I'm not saying we all shouldn't be there, ATVs have been on the road forever, like, not saying that. I'm just saying, like, let's find a way to keep ourselves safe, let's admit that this is an issue.
Well, I guess if you hit the ATV, it is gonna be your fault. If they hit you, then it's their fault. I mean, that's just the way it works. This gentleman right here, has a question.
Like you say, the safety factor, has to talk, yeah, how many, the law is seatbelts. How many people wear their seatbelts, how many don't? The helmet law is there, but we can't enforce it, there's trail members and club members. Nothing we can do about it.
There's a safety go, it comes a point where it is not the public's responsibility, each person has to be responsible for their own safety and their feeling. However, what I wanted to address was the signage. the lady who said that she feels that her side road should be marked with ATV access route signs. My understanding, and perhaps you can clarify, is that ATV access route signs are only put up by Maine DOT on state roads by the DOT. We cannot post access route signs.
No, the state has the trail access signs, they're say 8x8, and they say, trail access, road, for that.
Maybe the kids, those need to be, were the state roads, not the side roads.
I can answer that.
Hold on. But,
You're gonna be on state roads.
Are we allowed to use those access route signs on side roads?
I can read them.
yeah. But,
I would like to ask Richard, how does she know that you would create you the side by side to speed?
Yeah.
You have radar on it? Right now, you know, I mean, 15 miles per speed limit, 18 miles, very low. Okay.
If we need to get a return.
No, I'm not. It's 15. What's your version of speeding on? On average. He's in charge.
Yeah.
all right, Bob, and Nancy, so,
As far as access route signs. Access route signs on state roads are posted by Maine DOT only. Access route signs on town roads can be put up by the club. I have the same metal signs. We bought a bunch of signs, the same metal signs that Maine DOT uses for access routes. If we believe it would be better off to have an access route sign on each end of Dugway, we can put up the metal signs on each end of Dugway. Or any road. I mean, so, if that's what you think will help, if that's what you think will let, automobiles and trucks know that there are ATVs on this road, this is a public road, not a trail. I have no problem doing that. I have plenty of signs, and they're the same big metal signs that Maine DOT used, put them on both ends of the
if
road.
you could do that, that would help.
I will. So one more thing that I just want to add that, because there was a lot of comments about, people coming from out of town riding here, maybe that's what a lot of the problem is. I'm sure there are people from out of town riding here, but I can tell you that our club does not publish maps. We did initially, we took down the website. If you look for a map for this ATV trail, it's really difficult to find. The only people that get maps are club members and friends of the club. So we do everything we can to limit the amount of traffic that we get, to limit people from out of town or out of state from having easy access to our trails and coming here. It doesn't say that if they rent a house here and they see an ATV sign on the road, that they know that they can ride and follow an ATV sign. But it's very difficult to get a map. You won't find them in the gas station, you won't find them in the restaurants. We don't print them, we don't publish them. So again, we do everything we can to keep the traffic as local as it can.
Thank you. PJ?
I think we can all agree that everybody cares about safety, but I think we also have to accept the fact that there is some personal ability. If you go up here on the corner in front of Cindy Eaton's house, there's been a lot of accidents. If you go down here to the 5-way intersection, there's been a lot of accidents there too, right? There's only so much we can control. What if we talk to the Conway Daily Sun about helping us to advertise that this is an issue and is of concern, and that so that maybe the parents of the kids, if they're here, will see that this is viewed as a problematic situation that could put road access at risk, and see if that helps. Maybe put something in the shopper's guide, Put something at the end of each end of the road, maybe. See if you can work a deal with some policing a little bit, you know, on Old County or at the end of Dugway on both ends. And just see if that works. And I think taking it away from all of the people and the way it do. Is not. And I think everybody wants the answer, but it may not be something that's that easily resolved. It's an unresolvable issue, other than just, you know, heightening awareness and making it clear that this access road is, saying it right, is, you know, potentially at risk.
Judy?
I'd like to know if there's so many of you ATVers out there, why can't you connect your trails from your own property if they like the whole road?
Go ahead, Laurie.
That's because the snowmobile won't let it. The snowmobile has talked to the landowners not to give us permission. So the only way that we can take off,
Is that true?
that's right.
Come on down the ATV trails and see all the no snowmobile signs.
I can only say that,
Yeah.
but believe me, every ATV rider would much rather be on a trail. None of us are on the road because we want to be on the
That's right.
Trailer, drive it to the other end of town.
So when I'm riding the trails from there, and I'm going to Fordham, I get a trailer, you know, to go 5 miles across ground to get to Fordham.
No, Bob, that's not. Judy? We're not arguing. We're just at the question. Frank?
Speed limit. Good, or 80 grade. Bob said that up north, they don't use them. Because the ATVs, they found what's. Accident prone if they're doing the speed limit. For the road. So if driveway's posted at 25, the ATV should be on 25. That way they're not trying to get past all the time.
That's the way it is in Rankin. They drive right down Main Street. They have to drive the speed limit downtown Spring. Yeah.
And for concerns about, you're still gonna get the people that are going, doesn't matter. I mean, local business owner and chase cars in my business throughout the day, every day, because people can't read. And 5 miles an hour is in the summertime, it doesn't matter what you posted. Some of the people fall, some, but up north, we're into was there was far less accidents when you follow the flow of traffic. Right, and that means if the
Yeah.
speed limit was 25 miles an hour, you were in the road 25 miles an hour. What that does is it opens up your shoulder. So you're following the center line just as you were in an automobile. I can't say it would work on Dugway, I don't know. I've ridden up Dugway one time. However, up there it did have vast improvements. No, you're not getting cars pushing ATVs over, you're not getting ATVs falling off the lip and shoulder and just a suggestion. I know speeding would still be an issue, but it tends to be recent.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vinnie?
Yeah, I live on the other end of the Dugway. And it's a different configuration because there's a great business there, Stone Mountain Art Center, which is a community business, so a lot of the ATVs know there's activity going on and they slow down. They go by, I wave to them, they wave to me. People who go to Stone Mountain, I wave to them, they wave to me. It's changed, everything's changed. I knew it changed when the first group of people that left Stone Mountain, when the show was open, I was coming home and I had to put a directional line to get in my driveway. Well, things change, and now I'm more careful when I leave my driveway, when I enter my driveway, because I know there's more traffic, not just with ATVs, with everybody. And the ATVs are going slower than anybody, so if I do pull out, there's more chance they'll stop in time and not more stupid items. But anyway, I'm on the other end, it's a different configuration. You know, there's not a long stretch or somebody who's a little active. We've all done something reckless, impulsively, you know, speeding, whatever. We've all been there. And I don't think we should shut the road down to anybody. Personally, we don't shut the Saco River down because of all the crazy activity goes on there with people's property. I don't see why we should close down.
Cindy?
May I direct my question to the officers?
Sure.
I think, one of the biggest questions, obviously, is the safety. And what do we do if we have an issue with the safety? Because there are certain people that live up there and don't feel comfortable confronting those that are breaking the law. Currently, a lot of us in the room don't live in that way. On every town road. I travel with bicycles, they ride down the center of them because of the huge hazard, because the winding road, we have speeders. So it's a different type of hazard, but it's a hazard. So I guess for those that live on Dugway Road, if they face a situation where they're having an ATV issue, they don't feel comfortable, what do you recommend that they do? Do you recommend they call 911? Is that going to help them further down the road, or what should they do?
I wouldn't say call 911,
Okay.
unless it's an emergency, I just call the office line,
Okay.
because it definitely is check. We've got 21, 22 calls in the last 3 years. No one deputy's come across an ATV, we were down there check. Because the ATV is always a problem when the ATV is there. And it's not everybody, it's a select few, just like people that ride a car, just like people. There's just a certain few. And what am I gonna do if I get an ATV? I'm up on Dugway Road, and I get one that I think is being unsafe or improving. And driving too fast, and I turn around on them, and they don't want to stop me. What am I gonna do? I can't chase them. It's against our policy. If I did chase them, is it worth killing a 16-year-old kid? No, it's not.
Kevin?
But
I'm, you know, I've done a lot of sign and deputy work, and I've gone to especially front of house door houses. To put the sign up before you get to the house, so people want to see that. You can't control that. People, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. It's like, how many times do you see people speeding on 113 out there? I mean, you want to talk about safety, 113, how many people have died out there? How many accidents have there been out there versus the ATVs? It's not, there's no way to control the way this is going on. You're going to have people that are going to do what they're going to do, and they don't care if people red rat or, you know, it's basically not going to do it. They're going to, so they call 911 as the officer said, so I'm speeding up the Dugway, I see a cruiser coming, I'm off into the woods, what's he going to do? Follow me?
Yeah.
I'm blocked.
Right.
Well, I have a question for you. You still live in Bixby Lane? Okay, and that road comes out in that, so anything coming from Old County Road, that way you really can't see till you push your nose up there, right?
Oh,
The other way you can see fairly well. Right, if you're not coming out of your driveway, and there's an ATV coming the other way, from Center Conway Road, you can't see them until you get out there, basically, because it's treed up right there.
Well,
Right,
my driveway, my roots,
right,
when I come up and kind of see.
yeah. So, yeah, so my thinking is, if they could put a couple signs, you know, there, explaining there's a driveway there. So, because when they're coming up, they can't see that driveway till they see the car, and she can't see them till she
I
does.
should put some signs up there in front of your house that says caution. I got all speed limit, or whatever you want, Jim.
That would help. Yep. Terry?
I think we need signs like that on the hill, going up, way too old short turn. That's be very dangerous.
All you have to do is just give us the locations and we'll be happy to put them.
So I just wanted to read this, that was interesting. Public way designated by an appropriate governmental unit as an ATV access route must be posted conspicuously at regular intervals by that government unit with highly visible signs designating the ATV access route. Before designating a public way as an ATV access route, the appropriate governmental unit shall make appropriate determinations that ATV travel on the extreme right public way, or as directed by the appropriate governmental unit within the public way, may be conducted safely and will not interfere with vehicular traffic on the public way. That worries me because it sounds like you folks are
responsible for deciding and getting the signs up.
The town's already done this in 18 is when they did this.
But the signs don't say the trail.
So, and we can ask them to put some signs up, get some of the same signs they had to steal signs, that's not a problem. Chris, did you have another question?
The difference between if it's, we are an access group. Can you answer, are we a, we an access group, in the state law, to me, it looks like access. Is that true?
I would think myself, that would be an accurate.
Maybe if the people that were speeding, these convoys, it's a lot of it is a convoy of people, I don't know what other words.
A lot of people ride again, right? Actually, even with snowmobile, they do the same thing. Yeah. You didn't send that guy, right?
When it says access route, doesn't that mean shared access?
Yeah,
It doesn't mean it's strictly a trail, it's shared access with automobiles.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
So. Have we thought about putting up a game camera to try to slow traffic down by? I mean, if we can get a catch of the registration number. That could be brought up to the main ones, and then they can take a visit. The police, I've been up and that way many times. Gentlemen, Arts Center always tips his hat and we go by nice and slow. The problem with the lower speed limits is the clutches on the machine, you can barely keep it at a steady 10 miles an hour. The way the machine runs, it runs on a belt. The clutch is open, belt drops in, and it pushes the vehicle. Some machines, it's very temperamental. I agree with keeping the speed limit low, or even at the posted road speed limit. And it's more safer to keep the traffic in line than rather than cars coming around, certainly. As far as access route, access trail, I see them as both. I see this posted speed limit, I drive this posted speed. I'm a former trail master, my ATV club, I've dealt with it all. It's very hard to police as individuals because you approach somebody, you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what they're carrying, you don't know what they're carrying. They open state, you can be shot. You say something wrong. The biggest problem is you're always gonna have bad apples. And there's no way around it.
We can Bruce.
Yeah, with vehicles, it's mandatory to make out an act with more time. I believe it's within $1,000 or $1,500 or 1,000. What is the criteria for making the ADB make our action for? Because I believe there's a low number, that they're not reporting accidents unless somebody gets hurt. Yeah, that's what I mean. And what is the criteria for ADB to be made to make out an action report like a vehicle? Is it so the low numbers that's being reported? I know for package all kinds of.
Right, no problem. $1,000 silver really worth that much.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at, there's a low incidence rate because there's no enforcement to make them fill out.
That's you.
Just like to make a point, I'm a property owner here, Brownfield and Florida. And they come out that way, right, dig a hole, you'll find my place, and I'm not a designated access trail. If you close that way to ATVs, all you're gonna be doing is hurting those of us that try to ride respectively and safely. You're not gonna affect those people that are bad actors anyway. We get them over there and we're not an access trail, and you're gonna get them over here, whether you ban the rest of us from the road or not. All we can do is, if we see somebody doing that, is speak to them, that's what I do with my way.
And usually doesn't do any more good than. Giving somebody like that, not commit a crime, they're gonna do it, whether it's hosted or not. Shutting it down to the rest of us isn't gonna help that problem. They're gonna do it, no matter what.
Judy,
Maybe everywhere that the sign says access route, it should also say residential neighborhood, because every road in this town is a residential neighborhood, and there's people that are coming from away that aren't club members. Maybe they just need that in their face to be reminded of that
that's a thought.
every 50
Yep.
feet.
Just a response to the gentleman about reporting accidents, I paid a lot for my ATV, it is finance, and I have a responsibility to fill out an accident report regardless. And many of us will do that, if for nothing more than financial reports.
We're gonna say you're gonna be much more hurt in an accident than an ATV than you are in a car accident.
Yeah.
So you're gonna definitely, if you're an ATV accident, it's definitely personal injury costs, 9 times out of 10.
Joe, last one.
I am.
Yeah.
We came here tonight with one intention. The majority of people on Dugway Road don't want to shut down Dugway Road to ATVs. That's a fact. We came here because there's a speeding problem with some of the ATVs. If a truck comes down the road and it's ABC lumber, I can call up ABC lumber and say, would you please tell your driver that the speed limit on Dugway Road is 25 miles an hour? Leave it at that. I'm pretty sure that somebody will mention that. I don't want to get the person in trouble. I just want to make them aware of it. When it comes to ATVs, most interesting thing that I heard tonight, and really it tells us that there's nothing we can do, is that there's no speed limit. And with that being the case, as this lady just mentioned before, there's no speeding. So we're kind of caught behind between a rock and a hard place. Rock and hard stuff. And so it's great that everybody showed up here tonight, but unfortunately, it really seems like we don't have an answer, and we're not going to have an answer. And as the officer said, the only thing that can be done is that we get in touch with your legislator and ask them to do something about it. But with all the ATVers here today, you can just spread the word that you came to a meeting tonight. People aren't happy with the small number of people who are speeding. And it doesn't have to do with how many accidents there are or how reckless they are. It's just the fact that they're speeding. If you can spread the word, people are fed up. And as I said, we don't want to shut down the road. I'll speak for myself. I don't want to shut down the road to ATVs. But the interesting thing about those signs that were posted by the ATV club, and we appreciate them, is it says respect it or lose it. And the thing is, there's no way really to make somebody lose it. The other thing with, if there's a speeding truck, aside from noticing the name on there, if it's a car, I can take the license plate number down, call the sheriff and say, hey, ABC was speeding on the road today. You just make a record of it. If it's going to continue, I can maybe you can get in touch with it. I know that ATVs are supposed to register and you're supposed to have a number on them, but I would kind of bet that nobody in here who's standing maybe 30 feet away from a speeding ATV could be able to pick up all those digits that are on there. So that might be something else that could be looked into, since they have to register and they have to have a number, is making that number more visible. I think that might help the situation in the long run.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate everybody coming here tonight.
I want to say thank you to everybody. I think that Bob, if you could get with Kristen and identify some of the bad areas, and put some more signage up. If Oxford County and the game warden would take the next couple of weeks and on Sunday just try an extra path up there and see if you can slow them down, and if whatever we can do to help, I think it'd be great. And then we can revisit this later on and see what we can do. All right. Okay, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.